What is a Bitcoin?
Well, I have some problems figuring out, is it a payment system where you anonymously can do something with others and it's all open for everyone, what the record of what was transactions earlier? Or is it really an asset class? Meaning, if I invest in an asset in a stock, I know what the cash flow is of the company. I have a way of evaluating what is the net present value of that today. If I invest in a bond, I have the same thing. I can try to figure out what is the value of the asset today. But from an asset class perspective, as it's the thing you invest in, it's really difficult to figure out what are fundamentals in Bitcoins, because there really is no value. There's really no cash flow. There's no return that you can try to figure out what the net present value should be. So in my view, I think the challenge really is to figure out, is it a payment system, or meaning where you can do transactions and buy things in shops, or is it actually an asset class you can invest in?
But if it's a payment system, there are more efficient payment systems. For example, people who advocate Ethereum, an alternative, say that it's actually much more flexible. Even Bitcoin Cash would split off. People who advocate that say it's much more efficient than Bitcoin.
Absolutely. So at the moment, the average transaction, if I were to buy or sell a Bitcoin with you, it would take about 10 minutes to make it complete. So the bottom line is that's not very efficient if you go to a store and do something. So that's why there's now 200 other Bitcoins that offer other kinds of features and characteristics that are in different ways more or less attractive. But the bottom line is, I still think for investors, it's critical to keep in mind, is this an asset which you're investing in which has no fundamental value, where you're investing in something that doesn't have a cash flow, or is this a payment system which can do things that the payment system we have today is more efficient than what we already have?
Or is it an equity? And the reason why I say that is come inside the Bloomberg and I'm looking at the volatility of Bitcoin. So the bottom panel here is the volatility over 10 days for Bitcoin. It's 131% as of yesterday. And I should point out that other periods of volatility, like the S&P, only hit 102%, but that was back in October 2008. And Black Monday, going back to 87, S&P volatility was 153. I mean, one argument for an equity desk at a big bank dealing with Bitcoin is the vol. You don't see that kind of vol when it comes to commodities and FX.
You should probably be careful putting your 401k into that asset class alone. But it's clear that it's very striking that this volatility is enormous relative to our discussions. We always have a vol is so low in equities, swaption vol is low in rates, FX vol is low, credit vol is low. So it's certainly an asset class that delivers much more stomach churning than you can get elsewhere.